Saturday night, about 11, well, it's probably midnight, I get woken by a text.
Okay.
Like, wow, what a great fight. So, A, I don't appreciate you waking me up. And second, tell me about the fight that I missed.
Amazing. I'm not sure if I texted you or my group chat first, but I texted and I said that is the best fight I've seen since Jones Gustafson. I don't know.
I was not in that text, so it must not have been a group message.
Yeah, I meant my group chat with my friends.
Our friends.
Yeah,
this is our friends.
Yeah, you're not in
Didn't realize I wasn't.
Yeah, not the work group chat.
Yeah.
You know, the friends group chat.
This is Jones Gustafson level.
Exactly. Yeah, it was. It was so good. Like there were so many moments where you felt like, oh man, Yuri has it, then Teixeira has it, and it was just so up and down, and like it had you on the edge of your seat, man. It was awesome.
Luckily,
was awesome.
I have Stream TV, so I'll be able to watch.
100%. I went and watched it again on YouTube because people cut it and do all this stuff.
Sure.
And so, but it was awesome, man. And Teixeira was winning that fight because he was so dominant on the ground. Segue a little bit. I don't like how much weight people put on ground control. I feel like striking is the hardest part of the fight to me.
Right.
Because I enjoy high-level striking.
Sure.
So I'm like, if you can avoid getting hit and hit people, but then all of a sudden you're beating somebody up on your feet for 3 minutes, you're on the ground for a minute, 10 seconds, and they're like, oh, well, he lost that round. And I'm just like, what are we talking about?
Well, I don't agree with that. As a judge, and I am a jiu-jitsu guy, that's my love, and, so whatever your love is, you tend to lean that way.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
If it's 3 minutes stand-up dominant, and it's a minute and 20 seconds ground dominant, then I'm leaning towards the stand-up guy.
For sure.
I mean, it's just...
Yeah, and I think, because that's what frustrated me about the people, when people were saying that Valentina lost the fight and they were upset, when she was on the ground, she wasn't getting hurt on the ground. Now, Teixeira was doing some damage on the ground. Like, he was ground and pounding, he was, like guys like Teixeira, John Jones, Khabib, who when they get you on the ground, they're inflicting damage. I respect that, but if you're just on the ground and you're just holding a guy down and y'all are hugging, don't come and tell me that they won the round because they got a takedown. I don't want to hear that.
That's the difference, and you're too young to know. That's the difference of Matt, in my opinion, Matt Hughes and GSP.
Yeah.
GSP didn't, do damage when he had somebody down. He just held him down.
Yeah.
Matt Hughes would take you down with his, country boy strength and throw elbows and beat you up.
Yeah.
GSP didn't really beat you
if
up.
If you're just laying there, you're taking a break, if you ask me. You know what the Yuri fight also reminded me of? Anderson Silva and Chael Sonnen. Where Chael, not quite as much because this fight was more up and down, like they each had their moments, but Chael just dominated Anderson Silva for 4 rounds and 4 minutes and 45 seconds. Yeah. And right at the end, if you had just kind of just rested on your laurels, understanding I've won this fight, you had it in the books. Yeah. And he was like, oh, I'm going to try something else and try and put a stamp on it. He catches you, you tap out. That's exactly what happened to Teixeira.
And I'm a huge Chael guy.
Yeah.
I love Chael as a person.
I do.
I love him.
It's hilarious.
His whole thing. I used to, there's not many like walkouts that I remember. And Chael's is one, not necessarily the walkout, but how he would always get in the cage and come to wait for like when Anderson would come out and he's doing the come on. But I'm glad he lost that fight. No, and I'll tell you why. The obvious, because he tested positive.
Oh wow!
So the last thing I would have wanted is Anderson lose that fight, and then Chael loses it because of the testing. Yeah. And now Anderson has an L and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this, that you can say, well, he tested positive. It's still an L.
Yeah.
It may get changed to a no contest, but it's just like you arguing the John Jones DQ isn't a law. It's still a notch on the record that people down the road may not know that it was because of that.
Okay.
So I'm glad that Chael did lose.
Okay, segue. How do you feel about when they take away wins from Joe Paterno because of a scandal with another coach, or they say, oh, we're taking Reggie Bush's Heisman and we're taking away UFC's wins, and there was no Heisman winner that year. There was no national champion that year. Like, to me, that's ridiculous.
It is
they
ridiculous.
won those games.
Yeah, it is
won
ridiculous.
those games.
I mean, I know that I'm going to get blasted for this and everything. In my opinion, Joe Paterno knew everything that was going on, and he should pay some penalty. But all those players that were out there that didn't know, well, I know, and that is, he died of a broken heart.
Yeah.
And I believe that.
I do too.
So he paid the ultimate, I guess.
Yeah.
Still not enough payment, in my opinion, for what happened, if all of that was true. But yeah, to take the wins away from players that had nothing to do with it.
I don't know that I can say that he knew everything that's going on. He might have had some idea, but like, people are sneaky, man, and like it's hard for me to blame the head for what's a choice that somebody else made, and I'm sure like maybe he might have swept stuff under the rug, and like, but like for me it's like, man, like the person that did it, like, hang them,
I'm going to flip that on you.
Yeah.
Why do you think I'm so worried about Chuckles over here?
Fair enough, because they'll say it's your show.
Right.
Yeah.
So he goes and says something stupid like he did recently.
Yeah.
They don't look at him.
100%.
They call me out.
Yeah, and I think that's unfair.
FCC isn't going to call him.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have a phone for them to call.
A la the Deshaun Watson situation going on right now. People are like, well, what do the Browns need to do when they need to speak up? It's like, they didn't do anything.
Right.
Why do they have to speak up on it? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, we employed this man. We didn't know there were 77 women in the works, or whatever the situation is. But it's like, talk to the person who has responsibility for the actions they did. Don't just come and say, oh, you work for this organization. It's y'all's job to. No, I don't agree with that at all.
Well, and it has nothing to do with this, but I know I've mentioned this before. When Hoist Gracie tested positive, they had the UFC logo banner behind him.
Yeah.
He wasn't in the UFC when it happened.
Yeah, we talked about it.
And that bothers me even more.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this, that, if an NFL player does something, a wrestler just did it the other day, one of the Hardy brothers, got pulled over for the DUI. Yeah. Yet they throw the WWE had nothing to do with it.
Right.
AEW had nothing to do with it.
And like, that's a great point, because people are like, oh, all these athletes are getting in trouble. These pro athletes get DUIs and they hit women, and I'm just like, these cases happen every single day.
Right.
It's not more prevalent here than anywhere else in your everyday life. Like, somebody did something at his job yesterday that you just don't know about because they're not a professional athlete that are going to be on the news. So don't have it be like, oh, it looks so bad on this league. I'm just like, it looks bad on that person.
Right.
The league has nothing to do with it. That person made a stupid decision, and they live with the consequences. They don't be like, oh, those NFL guys are so bad. No, somebody did something dumb.
Right. It's that person who just happens to be a football player.
Yes.
There's a family member that I think it's been a year that this family member got away from the spouse who was being abusive. Mm-hmm. So it happens in everyday life, and to attach it to the NFL, to attach it to MMA or the UFC has always bothered me.
Yeah.
Because there's good people in the NFL. There's
100%.
good people in MMA.
90%
Not
of
so
those
much in
guys
pizza,
are,
but
yeah. Like, I tell you, 90% of those guys are good dudes. You never hear their name. They have great families. They live their life. It's the job. They come and they work and they go home.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it's just, that stuff frustrates me when they get that blanket statement.
And just because we're running out of time, and I want to get this in before,
I think it's more than 90%.
I gotta switch gears just a second. But look, we're in a recession, right? The market's collapsing, and there are football players that took half salary or full salary for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And as a NFL guy, like, what's your thoughts on it? As far as like, have you ever considered doing
Cash,
something like
I
that?
want cash. I only take cash.
Because the interest rates just went up 75 basis points during the show today. Obviously gas all-time high, inflation, food costs. So we're looking at a recession. And you're a forward-thinking guy. You're an educated guy. So these guys are taking.
Sucking up to you now.
No, but you don't trash me the whole first hour.
No, but you don't want to end up like John Elway and make a bad decision that $36 million could have been $900 million.
Yeah.
You don't want to leave Bitcoin and things on the table. It could have been astronomical.
It's one of those things. Like, I heard about Bitcoin in like 2015, 16, and it was like, let's say, $2,000 a coin to get in. In 2 years, it was like 6,000 a coin to get in. And so when you see those kind of improvements, you're like, hey, I want to get in on this. And for a guy like Odell Beckham, who said he wants half his salary in Bitcoin, he has a lot of money already.
Right, for sure.
He's not doing that with money that he needs. It's an investment. Investments is a risk. It's a calculated risk.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't always work out. Sometimes you put money in some stuff and you understand, like, hey, like, I could hit big or I could lose it. And it's one of those things where it fell, and it's like, I don't think it's something where it's like, oh, you're dumb. Like, you made a risk. Starting a business is a risk. Like, taking a job, like, everything you do. So it's like they understand the risk, and it's just one of those things where it just didn't work out.
Ocho Cinco owns McDonald's, and that's why he promotes McDonald's every day.
Does it really?
3 of them.
That's
and,
great. I like that.
Really?
I got Indiana, Kentucky, like the whole.
I need
Cincinnati.
to talk to Ocho about bringing back that steak and egg bagel. That was my thing.
Well, we got to go train with him, so we want to go train boxing. I mean, he's getting ready for his next fight, so we'll go hang out.
Okay.
Yeah.
He didn't want to hang out. He just wants to go eat.
Yeah, I want the steak and egg bagel.
We don't want to hang out. We just want to eat.
We'll box. We'll earn the calories. We'll pick Randy up off the floor if he falls off the bottom board.
I like to steal my calories.
What are you guys going to do when I get on this balance thing and I do it and I'm okay?
We're gonna exchange
I need a video.
I do want you to move the tables, though.
We should have Steve set it up. We did a live video
at the pool, so
show,
he falls off
and
the water.
he's gonna do this.
And like, yeah, but we put the bets in. We'll get Pete Rose to bet and see who, how long you stay on before you fall off. And then if he wins, we put him in the hall.
All right.
That's Randy's birthday present from me. It's gonna be a life alert. All
right. With that, I've had enough. So I want to thank everybody.
I'll go to his house and check on him daily for you.
Oh, I turned off the wrong one. There we go. All right, Matt's already gone. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We're going to do, we should do like that after show. You know, people do these shows and then they do another after show for some reason.
We should do a reunion of the Ultimate Fighter. They say there's nothing like it. Hey, get all the guys back together, the band back together.
Why 2 hours? Just start going 3-4 hours like they do on Fox Sports.
All right, we'll talk about it as soon as I get off the show. This is Knockout Radio, brought to you by 8 Man Strong and Staff Summit. See everybody next week.